Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 1974 show. Think about that for a second. Do you hear all those technical runs? That was done with a piston and a rotor. It's amazing musicality, 1974 Vanguard. Well, we're starting to get into the final stretch of this amazing broadcast here with you now going on to the 7th hour, and we appreciate your generosity more than you can possibly imagine. We've breached the $123,000 mark, and we're continuing to go strong. I know we've lost our East Coast people. They've all gone to bed because they're exhausted. But the West Coast people, we know what's going on. We're going to keep going all the way until midnight, right? Stay with me because I'm going to be here the entire time. My crew we're all ready to go. We're still monitoring everything and getting all of these last-minute donations. Remember, don't be afraid to donate. Even if it's $1. We appreciate and love every single cent that we get because it's in support of this amazing organization and for what potential that we can bring in terms of music education and performance and all that good stuff to generations of kids coming up. And it's the same experience that you had, you alumni, and some of you fans with other corps as well. So thank you as always. And I just give a couple of quick shout outs before we move on to the next portion of tonight's show. Our last hour, the first $5,000 of donations will be matched again, thanks to Club 53, Stephanie Hebert, Mark Benden, Chris Anderson, Jeff Lang, Rafael Rodriguez, Bill Thomas, Josh Garbarino. We appreciate your support of matching dollar for dollar the next $5,000. John Mang, former drum major of this incredible corps, donated $130 in memory of Gail Royer and Myron Rosander. And I am who I am today because of them. Thank you very much, John. Christy Ryan, in honor of Lou Boy and Carol Avila, she donated $100. Pam Day donated $159 in memory of Betsy Harper, who not only taught me how to spin, but what it meant to be Santa Clara. Heart and soul. TNP, LSC. Scott Ryford Sr., $53 in memory of Mark Gershoff, fellow 1 ton of fun Contra brother. A man who was here, who I met for the first time. We've been friends on Facebook, and he was part of the crew, and he's left, but he left big time. He left us with $576 of a donation. Daniel Jett, it was great to meet you. I still owe you nickels. Thank you very much. And I know you and I are both in awe of this organization. Elaine and Kevin Kono donated $1,982. Amazing. They greatly appreciate the creative staff for sticking it out there. And also the mom, Elaine, is a Hall of Fame member and says hi to all of her kids. Hey, a quick rundown. If you're just joining us by chance to this broadcast, welcome. This is a live streaming fundraising program for, of course, the Vanguard Music and Performing Arts. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for everybody that has donated. And if you're considering donating, remember, it doesn't matter how much you donate. Just show your love for this great organization. We appreciate that. All right. We have a private Facebook group competition. We're entering into hour 6. Can you believe it? Hour 6. Unbelievable. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, obviously, so much for tuning into our broadcast today at the Front and Center program. The website, don't forget, if you're just joining us, is scvanguard2020.com. That's scvanguard2020.com. And there are several ways to contribute to the Front and Center campaign. I already went through all those levels. So we'll go ahead and go really fast through the through the script. I'm sorry about that. I jumped ahead of my teleprompter guy, but he's doing a great job of catching me up. And we're almost there. All right. Now, Dr. Rick Espinoza is going to take us through a how-to featuring his soprano solo from the 1999 championship. And then we're going to hear from some Vanguard legends and talk about then and now, and the bridge between generations. We get to hear from drumming legend and DCI percussion judge Alan Christensen as well. Now is the time, ladies and gentlemen. We need you more than ever to stand front and center with the Santa Clara Vanguard.
Charlie.
Whether you're a Santa Clara alum or a member.
So this should be a group message that we all feel the same way about. I think something like the fact that we all, our minds think we're 21 years old. Our sense of humor would suggest that we're about
But the
14.
bodies don't, that's for sure.
And our bodies, well, our bodies should quit listening to our mind.
I don't
Okay,
know.
Tim.
I saw a thing on when I was in Rome. I went down to this this chapel down in the basement, and there was all these skeletons in there. And inside there was a sign. It was in Italian, and then somebody interpreted it. And what it said was, "What we are now, you once were. What you are now, what we once were. What we are now, you will be."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's the same thing for all these new up and coming kids. They're going to be in the same boat we are.
Okay. What the
Now
hell?
that sounds funky.
No, it doesn't.
What would you rather have,
That does
that
sound
or?
kind of weird. That does
Let's
sound
let's
kind of
pick. Let's get
mechanical.
3 and pick one. Let's
Hey,
the best.
Charlie, you got a potato?
I got a potato. Oh,
Good.
yeah. Wait a minute. Hey, but pacing is important. It can't be what you are now, we once were, and what we are now, you will be.
will be.
Unless
I
we
like
want
that.
it
I
to
like
go
that.
like that.
That's awesome, Charles.
That's good. That was great.
Oh, okay.
That was perfect.
Hey, Charlie's done.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, it's got.
Well,
What
is
about
Tim
the
gonna-
sincere approach? What about the sincere,
Oh,
what you are
Charlie.
now, we once were. What we are now, you will be.
We
yeah,
can do them both.
Oh,
All these young people are going to be going, what the hell is wrong with these guys?
what the hell's wrong with these birds?
Yeah, but everybody, if we did it that way, Charlie, everybody would know that you are the one that put us up to the crying jag.
That's
It's your
right.
thing.
Okay.
You will be.
Okay, now,
Okay,
so now,
and Tim's
We're
going to
not
direct us,
singing,
right?
are we? We're
You
not
don't have to
singing.
sing on pitch, no. And Tim's got to conduct it. That's right, Tim.
you count it
Nice.
off, Tim.
A 1 and a 2. Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. What you
You
are
are now. We
We
once
Once
were.
were. What
We
we
are
are
now.
you will be.
Oh, man.
Hey, we all get easily distracted, huh? Jeff can remember how to drive from Arizona to Indiana every minute of the way, and he can't even remember 11 words on a page here.
Ready? Go.
Life is good.
Good.
Okay.
Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
We suck,
week.
but life is good.
Yeah.
Hey,
That's right.
This is our secret weekly historical Zoom group. We are standing up to support Vanguard. Stand with us and donate.
Wow, that was authoritative to the max, man.
Hi, Santa Clara. This is Dr. Rick Espinosa. I marched from 1995 through 2000. Today we're going to perform the solo that I got to play during the 1999 World Championship season. We're going to talk about technical aspects, we're going to talk about musical aspects, and also a little bit about the performance mindset that can hopefully help you become a more successful performer yourself. I hope you have a good time. All right, first things first, this is a hard solo, there's no doubt. It is in the upper register, and it requires you to be forceful and yet as relaxed as possible. So as far as macro goes, it's based into two phrases. You've got the first, bum bum be dum bum beam bum. There's your statement, and then you breathe. Dim bum ba da dim dum dum ba be ba bum. Then you play your second phrase. Two phrases put together. It's just that easy. Don't breathe anywhere else. As far as the first phrase goes, Right off the bat, you've got one of the most challenging things you could possibly have, and that's an octave leap. Practice your octave leaps. I do put a light tongue in there, but for the most part, it's just open, open. Let's try again. I'll give you an exercise, an idea of how I went about practicing this. Once we get there, once we get to the high C, we move, slur from the D to the B flat, and play the D open. I remember doing this on my soprano bugle. That D, if you play it first vowel, it's going to be flat. And whenever you're going do, re, mi, and when you're going from do to re, you want re to be up there. Do, re, te, re. You want to get re up there. So the way to do that is open. Let me try and demonstrate if I don't mess up. And then top, ti, tom. Difficult because we got a leap of a fourth, bum, beam. So how do you achieve it? Well, you've got to think about a compromise between muscle and force and being relaxed. How do you do both at once? Well, it's a matter of finding exactly the right muscles that will support it without giving anything else. So as I play, my goal is to make sure my body doesn't tense too hard, that I'm not too high up here, but I am tensing the right muscles, because there's no doubt when you're playing in the upper register on a trumpet, pretty much any brass instrument, you've got to use some force. There needs to be some there. Now, I try not to crank, but there is going to be some pressure involved. There's just no way around it. Are these strong enough? Are these set? As far as the second phrase goes, you're outlining triads. And then when you get to that last note, taper it. It's important to think both vertically and horizontally as we perform this, especially in our practice, because vertically we need to make sure tone, 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 tone. The distance in inches from each note and miles from each note has to be the same. That's why you've probably heard one of your music teachers say, if you can sing it, you can play it. And speaking of verticality, as far as this excerpt goes, when you reach a 16th note, ti, ta 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 tom, ta ti ti, ta ti tom, those 16th notes can't be throwaway notes. Those have to be centered as well. Then we need to not become paralyzed by that, and then we need to think this way. Tom, ta, ti, then we're just putting the whole phrase together and singing through the horn at the audience. Last thing I'll say is the performance mindset. It can be very demanding to get up in front of your peers, to get up in front of a crowd, to get up in front of your teachers and your instructors and perform a solo of any kind. So when you're walking out to do your solo, when you're preparing to breathe in your concert ensemble and you've got a lick that you know everybody's going to hear, it's important to note that what happens before the first note sets you up for what's going to happen in the solo itself or in the excerpt itself. I also remember during our victory run, after we had won the championship, I walk up to the front sideline to perform that same solo, and it's one of my treasured brass instructors, Dean Westman, who just said, he looked at me and said, "Rick, play me a solo." And all the pressure, that you have every time you perform it just went away. And the best time I played it all season was the very last time during our victory run through. It was amazing. Thank you, Santa Clara. This has been an honor for me, and I hope to see you again soon.
Know your SCV history with Danny V.
Immediately following the Sparklers meeting, the parents who had been in attendance held an impromptu meeting and began the formation of a new organization to sponsor our corps. The next rehearsal, many of our members had not heard what happened, but we continued until asked to pick a new name. Many were put on the chalkboard, but were finally narrowed down to Spartans, Cardinals, and Vanguard. Someone asked, I don't remember who, what Vanguard meant, and once we heard the description, it was the name we picked. We still had our corps, but with a new name, Vanguard. Gail later asked the parents forming the new organization to add Santa Clara before Vanguard. Our parents became very active in forming the Santa Clara Vanguard Booster Club, Inc., and raising the funds needed to purchase the uniforms and equipment we needed with a loan from several of our parents. They would also be our transportation to events by driving everyone to and from those events. Mr. Leeson purchased the truck they outfitted to carry our equipment. Gail became the corps director, and during our first trip to Southern California, convinced 2 former members of the Casper Troopers to become instructors. Fred Sanford would become our percussion instructor, and Pete Emmons would become our marching instructor. They would both become primary caption heads for the 1968 season. Our 1967 field show was more interesting than the 1966 show, and performing was much better. Placements in competition kept improving, and we were participating in more parades, both for fundraising and experience. At the Los Banas parade, when we finished our route, Gail circled us up and informed us that we would be taking a trip to the Midwest to compete against more established and competitive corps. This was exciting news.
Hi, my name's Alan Christensen. After marching 7 years in a couple of small corps, the Golden Eagles and then the Night Raiders of Sunnyvale, where I was taught by Santa Clara marching members Dan Smith, George Smith, Danny Vanetta, and an early mentor of mine, Rick Dobbs, I was fortunate enough to march snare in the Santa Clara Vanguard 1974, 75, and 76. I marched with some incredible percussionists, and they're still friends of mine to this day. Ralph found me and asked me to work with him in 1986 and 1987, a couple of great years. Vanguard to me means being at the forefront and trend setting, and the Santa Clara Vanguard has certainly demonstrated that consistently throughout their existence, with an emphasis on excellence in performance. Vanguard to me personally has meant success in life and career. Turns out employers like people who have demonstrated commitment and dedication and hard work in a class act organization that is successful. I owe a lot to the Vanguard and preparation from teachers and mentors, as well as all the friends and good times we've had. My favorite teaching moment came in 1987. It's a personal success of mine as an educator. This was the year that I was teaching technique to the snare line, and after marching for 10 years and teaching for 12 years where I had refined that technique, and along comes this drumhead called the Kevlar drumhead. The Santa Clara Vanguard was to be the first DCI drumline to use the Kevlar head. And it was a radically different head from the Mylar head. It severely impacted the technique that I was going to be teaching. So I took a drum head home, put it on a drum, and was out in the garage practicing and practicing. It was like I was auditioning to get a place in the snare line. Came upon winter and we made some adjustments along the way, but I think we ended up with a technique that made the most of Ralph's incredible music and fit the show design extremely well. But I think to this day, had I been stubborn and forced the technique onto this drum head, how disastrous it might have been. So I'm very proud of adjusting and going with the times. I'll never forget all those great times at the Avila's house telling stories and playing hearts, all the bus rides with my darling Lisa, and the great performances with my brothers in the drumline, and especially the one at the World Open. 1975. I'm standing front and center with the Vanguard. Please stand with me and donate now.
Hey, everybody. My name's Scott Pearson, and I'm really happy to be here on this Santa Clara Vanguard Music and Performing Arts Front and Center program here with my good pal, Rick South. And we are going to attempt to make some sense out of a time period in the chorus history, which includes the aftermath of winning DCI championships in 1978. How did 1980 ever happen? So, Rick, why don't you, because you were there as the drum major in 1978, just bring us up to speed about.
So 79, it was just a little bit of a rough year. At the end of 79, and this is where Scott comes in. So at the end of 79, the staff wanted a little bit more control over the programming part of it. Okay, and that's about all I'll say about that. They wanted to be more creative, is what their intent was. Gail, being the hard-headed, stubborn person that he was, he resisted.
First week in September, maybe, I get a phone call at my house from Fred Sanford, and he says, "Hey, I just wanted to let you know that Gail is not going to be doing the arrangements this year." And of course, my first reaction was, what? And he said, "Well, yeah, we've we've kind of convinced them that, you know, we want to go a different direction. And so we're going to have a couple other people arrange, you know, the music for the show. And when he said we, I wasn't sure who we was. You know, I knew Fred had to be part of the we. And he said, and so we want you to come, we'd like you to come back and do the horn line and write the closer, which was the Jupiter from the planets. And I said, well, exactly what does Gail think about all this? And Fred said, well, he's going to let this happen. Then it became apparent to me that the brass instructor who was hired in 1979 because of the one that left, somebody had to come fill this void, was also going to continue with us in 1980. And I was somewhat hesitant to embrace that concept. And it turned out that really Rick and I did, I don't know what, Rick, 95% of all the teaching, of all the repertoire, because this individual lived in the Midwest. And I mean, I don't know if we saw him for 4 months. I don't think. And Jupiter, for some reason, everybody loved. The drill was spectacular. I mean, Pete, boy, I mean, you want to talk about a state-of-the-art drill. The drill to Jupiter was just, it was something to behold. And even nowadays, people will watch 80 on YouTube and stuff like that. And most of the comments are, wow, that show's real revolutionary. But man, I can just see the planet spinning when we're playing Jupiter. And it went over really, really well. We get to the halfway point of the season, and we're getting bagged on so badly that there are two versions of this story. One of the versions is that Gail said to Pete and Fred, I am yanking the Matrix and Caravan, and I'm going to put in something that people will appreciate us for having played. And Rick knows the other version.
Yeah, and my apologies to Pete if I don't remember this exactly the way I remember it. My version is, or the one I heard was that the judges were just pounding us. Okay, so Pete and Fred kind of caved, and I don't know if that was more Fred than Pete. What I mean by that is they went to Gail and said, we're getting killed, we can't stand this, this is not like anything we've experienced for the last decade or more. Can you help us? And Gail went, okay. Having said that, he jumped in with the musical part of the Evita, with the Don't Cry For Me Argentina in the middle of it. And so we injected that, the Buenos Aires and Don't Cry For Me Argentina. We interjected that, and that was a high energy piece. We had guys screaming. The drums were up. The entire horn line was like 10 feet in front of the sideline, and we were in this curvy thing. Anyway, it was intense, and that's all Gail did. But it was enough for the judges to go, okay, you saw what was wrong, you figured it out, sort of.
Right,
But,
sort of.
Yeah, the bottom line is Gail, at the beginning of the year with all the trombone thing and the conflict of the show not really gelling, he basically said to us, the members and staff, he goes, yeah, we're going to take 7th. We're all like, are you crazy? No way. You wouldn't let that happen. And he goes, oh yeah, watch me. Now that's a Gail story right there for you. My name is Rick South. I am a former drum major of the Corps. I marched in the Santa Clara Vanguard B Corps in 1973. baritone 74 and 5, drum majors 76 through 79. Luckily, I got to play a solo in 79 as a drum major. I taught the horn line from 1980 through 1991. Came back in 93, 96, 97, dabbled a little bit, took a hiatus, came back in 2008 and started consulting with the A Corps, started teaching the Cadet Corps, and have won 4 out of the 6 Cadet Corps open class title.
Yeah.
And so I finished up in 2018 and I'm done with drum corps, except for the alumni group, which was fabulous.
My name is Scott Pearson, and I joined the Corps 2 weeks after the State Open Championships in Santa Clara in the fall of 1967. And I marched through the end of 1970. And during my last 2 years, I was actually a player coach, 1, 2, and 3, 71, 2, 3. And then I started teaching marching in 1974 and the Corps. And so that happened for 1974 and all of 1975. And that's when I met Rick in 1970, well, yeah, 4. And I came back in 1980 and 1981. And then I wrote the Cadet Corps horn book in 1997. And also in 1997, we had our first real pretty big alumni corps effort for the 30th anniversary. So I arranged the music, and Rick and I ran that whole thing basically. And the same thing happened in 2002. And we performed at Madison right before finals, and that's a hilarious other story. And then most recently, the monster effort, which was the marching, beautiful uniform, full-on drum corps thing, 2017, 50th anniversary. I am, seriously proud of everybody that taught that organization and everybody that was in it. The sacrifices made were monumental. And everybody part of that thing needs to know how much we all appreciate them.
Hi, I'm Rick South, and I stand front and center with the Vanguard. Please stand with me and donate today.
I'm Scott, and I'm standing front and center 2020 with the Vanguard. Please stand with me and donate today. Thanks, everybody.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are now finally entering in to the final hour, and we are just shy, literally just shy, about $20 shy of $125,000. I can't believe I'm even saying those words. It's amazing, amazing how much you have come through for the Vanguard Music and Performing Arts. It's amazing what you are providing for the future of this organization. As we said earlier, not only to survive, but to actually thrive. Not only have you donated, but other people have actually gone over to the Star Donor Club and have committed to even more of support for this organization on a monthly basis. So if you're inclined to do so and want to make a monthly gift to sustaining the operations of this organization, that would be greatly appreciated as well. All of your generosity, no matter in what form or how much it is, has been greatly appreciated. And I want you to know that's a very sincere thank you to each and every one of you out there that have gone to the trouble of donating money. And during these rough times, it's mind-boggling how generous you can be. And I believe on the pay it forward concept, because you're going to get what you give. And I certainly appreciate it, and this organization thanks you. A couple of quick shout outs to some people that are special to our organization. First off, Chris Knowles. He and I go way back. He donated $80 in memory of the great Rich Scare. Russ and Lottie McKinnon, $153 in memory of George Bonfiglio. Definitely changed the arc of my life, loving the walk down SEV memory lane. Go Vanguard. Thank you very much. Chris Roberts donated $200 for years of learning, education, and tradition. The great drill designer himself, Jeff Sagtig, donated $26 through Michael Gaines' page. From the WGI side of life, Ron Nankervis donated $53 in honor of the great Mike McCool. Thank you very much, Ron. I appreciate that. Kevin Brooks donated $55 in memory of Mackie Brooks. Her videos continue to live on many years, and love you, Mom. So just a quick cross-section of the fantastic donations and support that has been given to the Vanguard Music and Performing Arts. Well, before we go on, we'd like to take a moment to thank you, of course, just like I did. Thank you to all the donors and supporters of Front and Center 2020. We'd also like to thank the Vanguard Music and Performing Arts for their efforts in keeping the organization up and running, especially considering what a disaster it has been this year because of COVID-19. We'd like to thank the producers and the editors and the team for putting this together. This entire production has been a labor of love. We've all volunteered our time to come together as our professionals and experts in our particular field and have just come together and had a synergistic experience to really put this together and have a great time. We've been having so much fun when we're not live, lots of laughter and pizza, lots of pizza. Coming up with another With Me segment, this is...
Hi everyone, Jesus Sanchez here. For those of you who don't know who I am, I marched in the Vanguard Cadets in 2010 and later moved up to the A Corps in 2011 and 2012. Most recently, I taught the Vanguard Cadets from 2018 to 2019. I am very excited to share with you today the snare break from my age out year, Music of the Starry Night. So let's get to it. So the first bar, just decrescendo. Cool, pretty straightforward. But there's some nuances that you want to catch and you want to make sure you achieve. So the roll starts where you left off. There's going to be a lot of that going on in this lick, which gives it that smooth texture, which makes it real hip. So make sure you pay attention to those details. Next bar, threes. Cool, those decay. So there's a natural decay to that. They're not all accented. That's not the vibe. We're trying to get them to sound smooth. Right? And right there, you notice that the threes decay and the roll and the check before that are the same volume that they ended at. So, cool. Another cool moment to make it sound smooth and real hip. Makes sense? Then we got another hug-a-dick into a flam tap, into a flam drag kind of thing. Flam, two diddles. So just make sure that's nice and even. We're not slurring out anything. Chop to ga, chop to ga. That bar. Next part, 7-stroke. If you notice, every note is a little bit softer than the last one. So it's not just two heights. It's a tiered decrescendo. So you give the left hand a little bit of a bump to make it sound smooth and full on the way down. Next part is the tricky part, the press buzzes. The press buzzes is what tests your technique, your hand technique. The best way to go about it is to figure out how to get the buzzes in without squeezing the stick. So think about it as having contact without pressure on the stick, right? It's a big key element right there. And then there's a tap 5 that leads to the next accent. Again, pretty straightforward. Just making sure the low end is smooth, nothing jumps out because you had a diddle or a buzz. All those volumes are just nice and smooth down here, as if it's no big deal. Cool. Next part, we have 1 count turnover to a forte piano. Some cool flam stuff because who doesn't love flams? That's a smooth crescendo. Nothing crazy there. Next part, Herta, egg beater. It's a double on the right hand and a double on the left hand. Right? Right, if you notice, I end the egg beater at a volume that hair to with the weird sticking starts at. That's what gives it that smooth sound. That's what makes it hit. Then the last couple counts, pretty straightforward. Paradiddle, kick, another flam because it's cool. Then a 9-stroke with a fat shot. And if you're playing it well, lay into that shot, right? Makes it cool. Last part, most important part, you cannot miss this detail. If you miss this, then you're playing the break wrong. Boom! Big V at the end, right? V for Vanguard. Cool. That's the most important part of the lick. All right, let's do it slow, and then I'll speed it up. Got it? One more time. Boom. Cool. Speed it up now. One more time. Boom. All right, there it is. SCV 2012. Hope you enjoyed. Thanks for checking it out. See you guys.
Know your SCV history with Danny V.
Our 1968 show was even better, with more new members increasing the size of our core, again with most of the nucleus we had had from the beginning. Pete and Fred took over their captions, with Dan and Joe deciding to move on. The excitement of traveling to the Midwest was driving our desire to be better. In the spring, Gail informed us that we were going to have a weekend camp in Boulder Creek to work on our show and experience an overnight rehearsal. Brookdale Lodge became our home base. Brookdale Lodge was the second most popular resort in California and hosted the rich and famous in its heyday, but certainly not us. We would travel to a school in Santa Cruz for our rehearsals on a field during the day. Lunch was prepared by our parents and we would eat on the field. We had prepared our show, but we were not prepared for traveling across the country. The excitement of loading ourselves onto the buses and leaving home was at times overwhelming, considering it would be the first time away from home and still being so young. We traveled during the day, and when we stopped for the evening, we would rehearse. We saw many corps that inspired us to the possibilities we could become. We marched in many parades and got to experience new things we had never seen before, like the bugs and mosquitoes that were never ending. And we became closer friends and developed bonds that continue to this day. This has been a short look into the first 2.5 years of our corps. Our name may have changed, but the commitment to strive for excellence did not. We will be expanding on documenting our history and will need the help of all who lived it.